And especially people like Skeldra as well, because Skeldra been done on that greatsword for a while. He's been one of the champions in EU for the greatsword. So it's good to see that sort of greatsword culture diffuse out. But on the other side, we were kind of wondering what Neeze was going to be playing today. He has a large legend pool, of course, Scythe being one of the main weapons he plays. We've seen him play the blasters as well, but he's going with the Fate today, so we're going to get to see some more.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, of course, greatsword being that dominant ground threat, so you're looking at Neeze, who's able to play the Orb Legends that have such good aerial dominance, as well as playing Scythe, which is a great second tempo weapon, waiting for your opponent to swing, then saying, okay, it's my turn to whip punish. And you're seeing that already, where Neeze is pushing the advantage, is holding on it. You know, I was talking about greatsword being on the ground, but Neeze is dominating the ground so far, gets the forward light there, and is able to send off stage, but no edge guard as we switch to a sword here. Hopefully a little bit more speed on the side of Skeldra here.
Even when Skeldra picked up that sword, you saw him immediately sidelight over to the right side, so he was still pushing himself off stage. He is not able to control the center stage at all. That is totally Neeze's game so far. And of course with Scythe, you're able to grab your opponent. Even if they're at the middle of the stage, you can grab him from the middle, throw him to the outside. It gives you a ton of control. We're seeing those neutral signatures, of course, as Skeldra has been very vertical so far. We saw the one earlier on the Scythe that got interrupted by the weapon toss. Now we're seeing the orb, but the first stock is actually going to go to Skeldra here, and he's going to juggle these weapons. That's going to delay the next weapon spawn, but he wants to make sure he can guarantee himself on that greatsword, so he's not going to continue juggling that as Neeze spawns back in. Doesn't tank long whatsoever. Nice little side air from Neeze to clean that one up. We're about a minute and a half into this game, and we are even, but here comes the weapon spawn. Skeldra's backing up a little bit. He didn't tunnel vision right away for it, but he picks up the sword.
Yeah, the sword seems to be the thing that Skeldra is leading on in this matchup particularly. You see, like, okay, Neeze is on the orb now, gonna go for, like, you know, side light into side air. So you're looking at somebody that is playing that grounded option and using that down light to punish the gravity cancel and get a stock after it. It's really, really impressive. It's good to see the versatility because, you know, everyone talks about the greatsword players, but they also have that sword and that second option when they play greatsword, and it's good to see Skeldra leaning on it. Going to be very important versus Scythe and Orb.
Now, we just saw Neeze use the gravity cancel down signature on Fate to get back and touch the wall. It's a really interesting signature because you're like leading with your hurt box before you actually throw a hitbox out. So a lot of people, like, you're not probably going to see that signature used very much whatsoever, except for unique niche situations just like that.
Yeah, any way to you know, mix up your recovery, especially against Dayan, is going to be very important, as the unarmed recovery is able to close out that stock. We move back into the greatsword, and now looking for some ground dominance, being up a life here, and switches right back to the sword here. I love to see it, you know, saying, you know, I'm known for the greatsword, but I have a secondary weapon, and it is successful versus the orb and the Scythe so far.
And that's one of the many reasons that Jae-Yun is by far the most popular greatsword legend, is because you have that backup sword. Sword is like one of the first weapons that was in Brawlhalla, period. Everybody and their mom, if you're a top player, you have a sword. Like, you've played that Bodvar for a significant time in your Brawlhalla career. Right as Neeze picks up that side light into the side air to get the KO here, gonna swap back over onto the Scythe. But having that sword, like, that's one of the many things that are really powerful about Jae-Yun, is that very comfort weapon that has a lot of utility, showing some swagger over on the edge. He definitely has a solid lead here on Neeze, but Neeze bringing the pressure now with the orb. Again, playing very reserved, controlling that center stage, backing up just a little bit, and then whiff punishing with the true combo. Ooh, caught him jumping it in the air, and Skeldra is going to take game one with that neutral signature, KOing off the top.
Yeah, it's super important that as the sword versus the orb, just being confident in your anti-airs. You see there the downlight into recovery is able to close it out. Catching these jumps, orb players are going to look to do that, especially in the corner. Jump up, put out a hitbox, just try to find a way to get back to center stage. And you see there, that time Neeze not swinging, but still getting caught with that neutral stick. Very clean stuff. The sword is paying dividends for Skeldra so far. It's good to see, as we'll look for Neeze to make some sort of counterplay here, staying on the Fate though.
And kind of once we got past the like dominant era that greatsword had, where it was like far and away the best weapon in the entire game and everybody was playing it, then we kind of saw people understand the way that they wanted to play Jae-Yun was, okay, I'm going to do damage with the greatsword. I may try to KO a little bit with it, but I'm really going to hunt for that sword so I can find the D-Light recovery or the D-Light Stare, the simple option. And even especially that side signature in the beginning as well was a very strong KO option. Skeldra's doing a great job so far. We saw some early game momentum from from Neeze, see if he can wrestle this stock away, and he goes for the D-Light into the side air to get the KO there. He pushed all the way. He didn't just go for the raw sider. He wanted to get the D-Light, I guess, potentially burning his dodge for nothing, but he felt he had the pressure. He felt confident in it, and he got the KO.
Yeah, I mean, Neeze is going to be so solid, especially at using the orb weapon toss to burn those dodges out. And I do think it is very ambitious to go for down like that far off the stage, burning your dodge like that. But it gets the side combo. Nice side gravity cancel side sig there to catch the jump and able to touch the wall there, but still so much damage on the side. Neeze goes for the neutral sig to try to catch the jump in the corner, doesn't quite find it, and now control comes to Neeze. Finally, the game plan for Orb working out, but still Skeldra is very elusive, can get out of a lot of these pressure situations unscathed and is able to get back to center.
So one thing we haven't seen Neeze doing a lot of that you kind of typically see with Orb users, or at least in the Orb culture that I'm used to. Ooh, nice. Getting the pressure and punishment after the dodge and keeping it going after that weapon toss hit Neeze. But Neeze isn't really using a lot of orb down airs, which attacks at that 45-degree angle, a very popular angle, very popular for Scythe players as well, and something you can do to get the to get the better position over a lot of greatsword players who kind of play a little bit laterally or straight vertically like we just saw. He's not really doing that. Really, he's just utilizing his spacing, his dashes, and his movement to like bait the move out, and then I'm going to go in grounded with a side light side air. So it's an interesting way that he's choosing to play against this greatsword, which typically is like, okay, greatsword a very ground dominant weapon.
Yeah. Exactly, and yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, you're used to seeing, like you said, that down air and the more aerial approach, but yeah, he's playing for that, you know, trying to contest on the ground.
Skeldra, again, not completely tunnel visioning for the weapon. It's going to be the sword here. He's going to have to find some damage before he's going to be looking for that KO option yet. I don't know if he's hunting for the greatsword or if he's like, okay, I'm on sword. I got this in my hand. I can play sword neutral. I can juggle with sword. He's going for the neutral signature while Neeze is still pretty early into the yellow, not even really properly orange yet. So yeah, he's really feeling confident with these signatures that he's throwing out, and he's getting punished for it.
Oh, went for the down air there instead. The ground pound potentially could have closed out the game, and now you're off stage versus this greatsword and able to use the recovery. Dodges through the active input, not fully connecting on the up angle, but still now Neeze having some control, has to get back to the stage, and finally does with a sig, but it gets punished perfectly with side air.
Neeze instantly going for that side light after the D-Sig was a wild choice. He ended up missing there. I thought he was going to get hit off of that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, going for the aggressive options, we saw like leaning really heavily into the SIGs there, and yeah, the side light, side air, and this was a what an edge guard. I mean, to really just showing the confidence in that one. Yeah, and on this stage here, I mean, the orb actually playing a big part in why this game was won.
That was so wild. So going back to like put numbers to like a qualitative decision or analysis that I made earlier with the like spacing on the ground rather than coming in with the down airs. If we look at the dashes between these two legends, 87 came out from Neeze compared to just 66 from Skeldra. So almost 50% more dashes came out from Neeze. That's what he's doing on the ground to get in the effective range and get out of the effective range, baiting the attack, then he can come in to dash in yet again with the whiff punish.
Yeah, it's so easy to kind of like, you know, force yourself into a playstyle when you're on orb, but Neeze really showing like that side light pays bills.
It's very, very good, and not just because it's time to KO. I'm looking for my bread and butter KO flowchart move.
Best combo in the game. Nice gravity cancel turnaround. Catches the stall there. I mean, obviously sometimes the dodge in is one of those options that it seems like everyone's ready to cover, so a lot of people kind of forego that, but I think there it might have worked out there. But Neeze is just so ready for it, especially with the scythe just positioned perfectly to catch those options.
Yeah, he was ready with that gravity cancel D-Light, of course, utilizing his active input to get the quote-unquote strong version, as we call it, that hits the same direction rather than turning you around because it has greater force on it. So that's going to be the one you're looking to KO with, especially when you're in that position that he was in. It is interesting, and this is really like a Neeze thing. Neeze used to be kind of a reckless player, kind of like Pavelski. He was kind of like the new school Pavelski, where he goes for crazy stuff, burns his dodges off stage. Sometimes it's the best clip of the week. Sometimes he ends up losing his stock. We've seen it twice so far with the GC D-Light into the side air unarmed, and then of course what he just did with the GC D-Light with the scythe. So he's using that dodge out there to do grounded moves that are putting himself at risk but he doesn't have that like recklessness as the, oh man, Skeldra just called out that dodge so well with the neutral signature. But Neeze has like really refined his playstyle and become such a better character as he tries to get through that, but the bottom side, that huge swipe on that D6 scoops low, but also covers in front of you reasonably well. It's great to use over on the edge. Skeldra hasn't been using that as like a main tool in his arsenal, so he's pulling it out in that perfect moment because he recognized what he needed.
Yeah, Jaden's signatures being some of the best drag and drop into the combos. You get hit with sidelight, you're expecting, you know, the consecutive active input, but instead going for those 6 to catch, and that was actually the way the whole stock was taken. Nice gravity cancel jab there to get off stage. Yeah, that's going to just cap it in perfectly for Skeldra.
And that's really, that's exactly what it was. It was just that little bink, bink, bink. He wanted the active frames rather than going for like, I want to send you straight down into the blast zone right now to KO you with a down air or a ground pound, a big spike. No, he wants a little bit of that wiggle room that it gives you with the gravity cancel, neutral light, all of those active frames, because he just needs to send you a little bit further away because he's catching you in the middle of your in-air movement economy.
Exactly, having those resources and understanding that is just so important. As we start with Skeldra getting the greatsword, and yeah, that's rough to try to land versus the greatsword, but able to get back to the ground with the scythe, which I feel like we've been seeing a lot of scythe at the lower damage numbers, but then once it you know, gets later on, we're seeing mostly orb from these.
Yeah, definitely Fate is a legend that doesn't necessarily have like the strongest signature kit in the world when we're talking about Scythe Legends. What a lead that Skeldra has so far in this game as he gets yet another KO with that neutral signature. But you look at a Scythe Legend like Mordex and you see a very strong signature kit, a lot of utility. Signatures you can just kind of throw out. That's why Mordex is one of the most popular Scythe Legends compared to Fate.
Yeah. You're seeing Skeldra, I mean, literally the opening dance of getting the weapon first and just running away with the greatsword, but able to get back in the game, Neeze with that side sig from Fate.
Unarmed Skeldra's going to put a little bit of pressure, keep it going, a little bit of juggle game coming out.
I like that. Instead of retreating immediately to pick up a weapon, saying, I'm unarmed, but I can still continue and rack on some damage and put you so far away that you can't contest me grabbing that weapon, and put myself in a good spot as we get the sidelight into the neutral stick once again and catches the landing with the gravity cancel, turnaround, downlight, recovery, beautiful stuff. It flows so perfectly together. The big pop-up from the greatsword into the immediate landing catch with that downlight.
And that's what makes a really, really good Jae-Yun player, beyond just like having a mastery of the greatsword and having a mastery of the sword, being able to flow in between your weapons like that, because sometimes people have trouble KOing with greatsword. Not use. Okay, and let's see, Neeze does not have trouble KOing with the orb whatsoever. He's been at a deficit so much this game, but all of a sudden, with that GC sidelight into the side air all the way on the left side, the pressure he kept up, and now he's keeping it going. Almost. Okay, that was very close of Skeldra just stealing that game. He still wants it. He still wants to fight up there because he knows that he really has better vertical KO options than Neeze does up there.
So willing to do that. Downer is able to get back onto the stage, but the side air catches Skeldra once again, and now the orb goes for the neutral stick to try to catch the landing, doesn't quite find it. Skeldra still without a weapon in hand as Neeze tries to push this advantage state. The side air sends off stage once again, and now the edge guard comes in. The downer hasn't been used much, but it can be used now. This is the perfect opportunity. Goes for a sidelight, tries to catch an immediate jump. The side air still covers the center stage, and it's still Neeze in control. Skeldra just holding on for dear life on this wall.
Please wait, Neeze. Okay, the first time you saw the wall slip, exclamation points come out! Woo! Is right as Skeldra takes the game just barely over Neeze. But the fact that Skeldra was over on the wall, the exclamation points started coming out, which means wall slip is soon to come into effect. We saw 2 of the 3 exclamation points that come out, but Neeze pushed out there.